Good afternoon. My name is Riley, and during this presentation we will be talking about culinary and wine tourism in Calgary, Alberta. First, we will be discussing the beverage sector. Currently in Calgary, Alberta, there are around 1 million Calgarians that are over the legal drinking age of 18. Based on those surveyed, approximately 85% of Calgarians like to indulge in alcoholic beverages. For thousands of years, alcoholic beverages have been the predominant socially acceptable intoxicant. All cultures across the world have utilized a variant of alcohol to lubricate the social years as well as be paired with any component of a feast. Calgary makes no exception. Our locals still utilize and embrace alcohol within all social classes to enhance fine dining experiences as well as local partying and nightlife. Now, a little more in the culinary sector. Calgary is home to many ethnic and fine dining restaurants because of the many cultures that exist here. Currently downtown, Calgary has 200 plus fine dining restaurants. And now in the next clip, you'll be looking at an interview done by Chad Parrish.
I'm sitting here with Nicholas Shikora, who I feel has a good amount of information to tell us about the food and beverage industry in Calgary. Tell me about yourself, Nick.
Okay, well, as you said, my name is Nicholas Shikora. 23-year-old resident of Calgary. Been living here for about 4 or 5 years now. Came from Cochrane, so always been pretty local in the area. When I turned 18 years of age, I started working in the liquor industry at Highlander Wine and Spirits on 16th and 19th, which I'm sure many of you might be familiar with. Later in that time, I started working at Co-op Wine and Spirits in Dalhousie, but in the interim period, I went to SAIT, your school, and took my wine fundamentals, which was done by a organization known as the International Sommelier Guild. Okay. Now, the International Sommelier Guild is internationally recognized predominantly by Asian, I believe some South American and North American people, and it's basically a instruction to vinification and viticulture, or the growing and processing and organization of different grape varietals, as well as the pairing and tasting aspects of wine specifically. But I got my wine fundamentals under Paul Martsukos, who is a representative for Tannin Fine Wines, a local rep within Calgary here, focusing a lot on Italian and Greek wines. If you're tasting a Greek wine, there's a good chance that it's being distributed by Tannin Fine Wines, and that's of course Martsukos being his last name. Common, maybe not common, not sure, very Greek sounding name though. Yeah. So within that period, I learned a lot about vinification and viticulture of wine, and outside of that, my experience in both Co-op and Highlander taught me a lot about beers. They sent me on beer tastings, I organized the beer fridges, and I had a chance to do some market research, see term for drinking on the job or drinking after work.
You gotta do it sometime.
Market research is what we call it in the industry.
Nice.
So I had enough chance to try different beers. Now, even aside from that, I wasn't a big liquor drinker at the start. I was like many, drank mostly mixed drinks, rum and cokes, rye and cokes, vodka sevens, things like that. Yeah. But after having my experience with the liquor stores, I was sent to a lot of whiskey tastings, scotch tastings, rum tastings, various things like that allowed me to broaden my horizon and experience a lot of spirits in the flesh, which is now why I generally drink things unwatered down, as we also say within the industry.
That's going to be the kind of stuff that we want to talk about. That's the kind of things that I think tourists would come here to taste. Do you feel like there is an industry for food and beverage in a tourism aspect, even within Calgary?
Absolutely. Now, if we're speaking about wine specifically, there's not going to be your regional tours or your wine growing areas. There's not going to be tours of any of these things. There's no wineries in the area.
We don't really have the climate.
We don't, absolutely, and you're absolutely right on that. I mean, your predominant regions in Canada are going to be the Niagara regions and the Okanagan regions in Ontario and BC respectively.
Definitely.
Within Calgary, though, we have a socioeconomic system that works well with the food and beverage industry. So, I mean, we obviously have, as a North American culture, a descendant of Europe culture, alcohol is strong within our history. Mm-hmm. But within Calgary itself, we have a lot of business folk and working class people alike, all of whom enjoy a different aspect of the liquor industry.
Definitely.
So we have a lot of business people who enjoy the dining experience, and for ages, for thousands of years, food and wine have been integrated within between each other. This is something that makes us a destination. The fact that we have a fine food industry, great chefs, great restaurants, you're going to have great wines and great sommeliers as well.
Yep.
We have a great selection of things that are imported. The Alberta Liquor Guide is just a fraction of all of the things that we can experience as far as alcohol goes. It shows all the things we can import here, and that's already an amazing number.
Yeah, there you go, and that's only a fraction of what is available
Of
in Calgary.
what we can experience, at least with food and beverage.
Yeah.
That's going to show the predominant amount of beverages that are imported into the province.
Yeah.
But the experiences that you can have with those beverages are exponentially greater than that list alone.
There you go. So if we tried in this video to taste everything, we'd probably die.
Especially combinations of things, the things that you can do with wine and food. And a lot of these tastings are geared towards that.
Sure.
So you go to a lot of places, and the whole goal is to find the neatest combination of wine and food, or of beverage and food.
Yeah, and that's, my understanding is that's half the sommelier trade, is pairing it with food.
There's a large portion, absolutely.
Yeah.
A large portion, absolutely. And it's a lot of fun. And that's what really makes the experience neat. And,
Yeah, completely. Your experiences at Highlander, working there, did you find there was tourists coming into the store? Because that liquor store has a very fine selection. Did you find you were getting tourist customers?
Absolutely.
Foreigners? Yeah.
Absolutely. There's a lot of people, especially, people just staying in for a while. Maybe they don't want to go out to a restaurant. Maybe they want to kick back and just chill out, enjoy the sights, stay at a friend's house, something like that. They want something for a dinner party. There's tons of that. Now, we get a lot of foreigners coming in as reps, people who are trying to sell their beverages. So obviously you're going to also have people like, for example, from Australia or from England that are trying to find their local flavor.
And they love the wine and beer.
Well, beer is definitely the predominant custom of British and Australian culture. And Canadian culture as well. I mean, Canada is definitely becoming a split wine and beer culture and spirit culture, but beer is our heart. I mean, look at all of our predominant brands: Molson, Canadian, Kokanee, all of these things.
Big Rock,
a local variety, which I'm definitely going to get to in a bit here.
Oh, right on.
So, beer is a huge part of our culture, and tourists like to have a bit of our culture as well. If you have a beer culture who comes over here, you are going to see them experiencing our beers. They see that in us. So a British person or Australian person comes over here, not only do they want to seek their own brand, which is why we have to expand our horizons as a city, they also want to experience our brand.
Oh, definitely.
An Australian doesn't want just Coopers, or they don't want just Foster's. They want to experience some Big Rock and some Wild Rose as well.
Definitely. There's no way I'm going to order a Molson if I'm in Australia.
Of course, exactly. But you're going to want something like-minded. So you want the people that are locally established to be very knowledgeable on what your beer is. And that's one thing that we, in the liquor industry, try to achieve, is we try to achieve a worldwide understanding.
There you go. That makes perfect sense. It's kind of coupling something someone knows, but giving it its own local twist.
Absolutely.
That's almost tourism in a nutshell when it comes to consuming things. You also delivered liquor to bars, you delivered to restaurants, probably some of the higher end ones that tourists are attracting.
Absolutely.
Were they ever open when you were there? Was there a lot of people there?
Some of them. I mean, for example, it was a wide range of things. We would deliver a lot to Italian restaurants, deliver the wines that people go to, and of course, Italian and French are synonymous with a fine dining experience.
Yes.
When you have people from out of town, they're going to want to experience, especially people who are already coming from a non-European culture. People from the United States, people from other parts of Canada will come, and they don't necessarily need to experience Canadian cuisine if they're already from here or from somewhere close.
Yeah, they're
going to go for just the simple fine dining experience. That was a big part of tourism. Also, some of our local destinations, even on the other side of the economic spectrum, a place like Verns. Verns, as you're familiar with, having played there several times, is a local rock destination.
Yes.
A punk rock, goth rock, heavy metal destination.
Definitely.
A lot of local beers, kegs, flats, a lot of things went to Verns, a lot of imports as well.
Yeah, and they have a surprisingly unique selection on tap.
Absolutely, absolutely. They want to have, the solid local brands, something that's cost effective, as well as some stuff that some of their special interest clientele will definitely be looking for.
Yeah, because I wouldn't be surprised if you're getting people from out of town coming to Verns, not only to see these bands. Anyone who's seeing these bands, I find, it also likes to drink.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's part of the rocker culture.
Yeah.
And that's why I had to mention the other side of the socioeconomic spectrum. We have people who are looking for the fine experience. We're also looking for people who just like to let loose and enjoy the nightlife of Calgary.
Definitely. Which you and I can both vouch for.
Absolutely. I can vouch for both. I can vouch for both sides of these experiences. Mm-hmm. And at no point is our liquor industry or food industry lacking. We definitely have all of the aspects to match with some of the greats: Berlin, Paris, London.
Which you have visited.
I've been to all of them, and our dining and alcohol experience is at the least striving for the excellence that these notorious cities deserve.
Excellent.
And have achieved.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you for all the information. I'm probably going to have to wrap it up soon, but beforehand, I want you to talk about the own brewing that you've done yourself.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So, predominantly I've brewed a beverage known as mead, which nowadays not so familiar, but historically is very well known. It's one of the oldest alcoholic beverages known to man.
Yes, I've read that it was found in ancient Egyptian tombs.
Well, Egyptians had a variety of mead. So I guess if you were to liken it today, it would be considered closer to a wine. Yes. But it has a variant of it has been seen in ancient Ethiopia, ancient Egypt, and especially in Europe, where the Germanic cultures and northwestern European cultures have been known to brew this for ages, since the Viking ages, which stretched between 8 to 900 and 1200 CE, Common Era.
Definitely. I find that when people who know about mead nowadays, it goes straight to Vikings. That's what they think of.
Absolutely. And so the mead isn't much different than our regular beverages, except for the ingredients used. Just like every other beverage, it's the usage of a sugary substance and water, or a watery substance, mixed with yeast, and the yeast eats the sugar and creates carbon dioxide and alcohol, our friend alcohol there. And so what this is a honey wine. So it's essentially a variant of honey and water, or honey and a watery substance like apple juice, a barley water, something along those lines. And with the introduction of a strain of yeast that can vary all across the board, you create a beverage. So it's a quick to make beverage. Yeah. It's got a variety of different ingredients used. For example, a wine, you can't use as many variants of ingredients and methods as you can with a mead.
Yeah, because you've made a few batches. You've tried spicing them, you've tried adding fruit, cinnamon, nutmeg.
A cicer, which is essentially a cider and mead combined. There's people who do barley meads.
Ooh, that's excellent. Well, I want to thank you. The class thanks you.
Thank you.
Let's drink some mead.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Hi, my name is Jessica. In conclusion, Calgary has a thriving food and beverage industry, both appealing to tourists and locals. There is a plethora of alcoholic beverages with plenty of meals to match. We can almost guarantee that if someone wanted to get into this field, they would both have a successful career opportunity and lots of fun. Thank you for watching.